etc. I didn't have the words for it back then, but I started following small signs. And the first thing that I did was to just go back to nature. It then evolved from there. It's been 6 years now, and along the way, I've developed a set of self-healing rituals that are not perfect, but just have helped me feel more whole, more grounded, in my day-to-day life, and didn't feel like things I had to put on a to-do list and add it to my life. It needed obviously integration. And after some time of looking into these things, I realized that's also a science behind why they work, and I'll share a few with you, about 5. The first thing that I started to do is pray more, more intentionally, and asking the big question: God, what am I here to do? Why this pain? Why now? Surely the suffering is purposeful. This was not passive prayer. It was intentional conversations with the one who created me. And they say if you haven't uh, woken up in the middle of the night or somewhere in the wilderness and cried out to somewhere, the universe, you haven't yet come to your point of reckoning. And I find resonance with that. And think of a lot of moments that in storylines where that was so. Remember, Eat, Pray, Love, the moments where Julia Roberts was just like, dear God, it's been a while. But here I am, I need you. It was kind of that essence, right? And apparently there's a science to it. So the National Institute of Health shows that spiritual practices such as prayer can actually reduce stress, increase hope, and even rewire your brain regions linked to compassion and resilience. We get this from New Betal 2010. Number 2, I spent more time in nature and in play and movement. I hiked, I practiced yoga, I played tennis, I let myself just play again. I connected back with my inner child. I even went to like some of my hobbies when I was a child, like piano, and just got lost hours and hours doing things that weren't about productivity, but just about reconnecting with myself again from the essence of a child in the world. And this time spent in nature and connected to my body and being outside also comes with a lot of scientific wisdom. In that time in nature is associated with reduced cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and it lowers blood pressure and improves the mood. In 2019, a Japanese study on forest bathing showed that 20 minutes, just 20 minutes outdoors can shift the body into a parasympathetic state, which is a state of rest and restoration. So that's pretty cool. Number 3, I became more intentional with the food that I ate. So it wasn't this obsessive dieting or juicing or anything like that, but it was just conscious. And I'd spend some time going through periods, sometimes even a year or so, just being plant-based. Um, and then I'll go back to meat whenever, or I'll stop just like eating pork whenever I'd feel like that. Just listening to what my body feels, and especially when I feel lighter and more grounded. And the science behind that is the connection between the gut and the brain, which has now been well established, where about 95% of serotonin, which is the mood regulating neurotransmitter, is produced in the gut. So we are what we eat. When we eat better, our gut supports our emotional stability. So that's pretty cool too. And before I practiced meditation and a devotional silence. Some days I did guided meditations, other days I just sat and I focused on my breathing. And some days that was like 5 minutes, some days it was 20 minutes. Sometimes it was just sitting and being still and noticing all the different sounds around me. That alone created such an expansive space that grounded me. And the science is that meditation reduces activity in the default mode network, which is the brain's worry circuit. So a study by Harvard researchers show that just 8 weeks of mindful meditation increased the gray matter in the hippocampus, which is the brain's emotional regulation center. And that is a pathway to well-being. Lastly, the one thing I'll share is my journaling, my vision boarding, and my strategy around life and making that visible, and breathing in my space where I live, in my home. In fact, I had like these affirmations all over my house, and I remember when I'd have someone over, people would feel that energy, and be like, "Oh, I feel all of this stuff." Even before I saw what was written on these post-its, that I'd have all over. So I wrote out personal development plans. It was on my office brown papers. I mapped out the life that I wanted. Even when I was in the dark, this is where I'd return to and just be re-energized and refueled from a spirit perspective. And sometimes it goes through that way, something that the spirit feels and reignites the mind. We can strategize, and then it ignites your physical body to start moving and shifting towards that direction. So journaling helps also just process trauma and regulate our emotions, to call it, to put it out there. Again, this is a process of moving stuck energy from this place of it causing overwhelm, and then naming it and calling it on the paper, moving it from the place of it being something I cannot control and that's affecting me to something that's within sort of my control in a way, as I'm naming and calling it and gaining more courage around it. And visioning also just activates the reticular activating system, which filters your attention towards opportunities aligned with your goals. And this is also neuroscience backed. And basically, with these 5 self-healing rituals and through these practices, I began reconnecting with my body and my spirit and my voice. And I'm not sure if they fixed me more than maybe they realigned me back to self, grounding me and helping me hold myself when the world couldn't, essentially. And this is the power of self healing. But of course, some days are better than others.